subject of chords is absolutely huge, and I don't think there's any one person who's got a complete handle on it. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful methods that people will tell you is the right way, but I don't think there is a right way. But there's just so many of them, probably an infinite amount, that it can be quite overwhelming. So what I'm going to suggest today is something that hopefully will make you feel slightly more at ease with the whole subject. What I'm going to suggest is that if you find a shape that you like, then you can just use that without any fear of retribution, just as long as you know what it's going to sound like and you have a sense of how it functions harmonically with what you're doing, then everything's fine. You must have noticed at some point in your guitar playing life that certain chords are the equivalent of other chords. So in that sense, if you have an affinity for a particular shape and a particular sound, then it's a case of deciding what it is, a case of you deciding what it is harmonically in relation to what it is that you're doing. So let's find a decent shape. Let's find a nice shape that's going to be kind of ambiguous. Now there's one that I was thinking would fit quite nicely with everything that we've been doing, and that's one that's found naturally within the arpeggio group here. This is E minor in frets 5 to 9. If you've been diligently following that scale arpeggio exercise, then you will have played this already. So E minor, let's start on the 1 on the 5th string, minor 3rd, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3rd, and 5. So if you're going to hold as many of these notes down as possible to play simultaneously, then you're going to have found this. Yeah? So in effect we've got 5, flat 7 and 1. Okay, so there's part of me is saying, right, this is a fine upstanding kind of E minor. Now I'm going to try and get the 5th in, but you know what? That's so uncomfortable that I can't reach that. It's actually quite horrible and painful, so I'm not going to bother. But there's a nice happy coincidence here in that you can bar your first finger and reach this 4 up here. A very kind of floaty, ambiguous chord. At the moment we're thinking about it as E minor. So let's say that's E Dorian. Okay, so we could potentially move all the notes up in E Dorian. So 5 goes to 6, 7 goes to 1, 1 goes to 2, and 4 goes to 5. In effect, we're just moving the whole shape up like this. Okay, so now we've got to decide what the hell that is. Now you could say, well, I've just moved it up a tone, so therefore it's F sharp minor over E. You could say that. Or you could actually have a look at the intervals and say, well, what is this? We've got 6, 1, 2, and 5. So there's no 3rd in it, which means that it could be major or minor. That sounds pretty majory to me. So could you say that it's just some kind of major 6/9? Absolutely. Why don't we put a little 2/5 into that, see if it works out. So F sharp minor 7, B7, and then our new chord. Absolutely, it works. That's great. Let's move up again. So now our 6 becomes flat 7, our 1 becomes 2, our 2 becomes 3, or flat 3rd, and our 5 becomes 6. Now we've got this horrible thing here. I mean, when I say horrible, I mean it's actually horrible to play, but it's quite a nice sounding chord. I have to say I don't play that very often because it hurts, and that's a very real thing. I mean, we don't want to hurt ourselves here, so I'm just going to put that one over there as not one of my favourites. Okay, so let's move up. Our flat 7 becomes 1. What do we have? We had 2 becomes flat 3rd. Our flat 3rd becomes 4, and our 6 becomes flat 7. So we've got 1 flat 3rd, 4 flat 7. And that, to me, sounds like an E minor 11 all day. Okay, move on. Exactly the same shape. And now we've got 2, 4, 5 and 1. Should we move down a bit actually? Right, so let's move on. And now our 2 becomes flat 3rd, our 4 becomes 5, our 5 becomes 6, and our 1 becomes 2. I use that chord all of the time. Lovely kind of minor 6, 9 thing. Flat 3rd, 5, 6, 9. Very, very usable chord. Okay, let's move up. The last one. And now our minor 3rd becomes 4. Our 5 becomes 6. Our 6 becomes flat 7. And our 2 becomes minor 3rd. Now we've got this. Again, it's a kind of minor 6 chord. Although to me it sounds like one of those John McLaughlin kind of chords with like an A7 with the 3rd and the 4th in it. Nice. Okay, so now we've got a whole new fistful of chords at our disposal, but we've only really looked at them in relation to E. So let's just have a look at what else they could be. Let's kind of go through every single note and find out what else this thing could be. Let's just take that first voicing. The reason for that is because it popped up 4 times, didn't it? It popped up that same shape. Popped up 4 times. So let's have a look at that. So E, we've done that already. We've got minor 11. 11 on the top. Let's have a look at F. Oh my word. That actually sounds really good. So here's F, that's 1, B sharp 4, D is 6, E is major 7, and A is 3. So we've got some kind of Lydian thing going on, and that is really quite a beautiful voicing for a Lydian chord. Marvellous. Next one up, let's go to F sharp. To me, that sounds like a B minor, but we've just got the 5th in the bass. And then there's the actual second inversion triad of B minor. Yeah? 5, 1, flat 3rd with a 4 and a flat 7 on top. Great. Okay, stick with the same chord. And let's put a G underneath it. Starting to run out of fingers here. It's wonderful. That's an absolutely beautiful G major. So we've got 3, 5, 6, 9. Great. A flat next. Is that going to work? Well, what have we got? We've got minor 3rd. We've got flat 5. We've got flat 6. And we've got flat 9. Doesn't sound great, does it? I mean, it's kind of, you know, it could be a sort of poor excuse for a sort of altered chord. But I mean, you've got to at least get, you know, more kind of cornerstone notes in there. So like at least the 3rd. So once that 3rd's in there, then it's kind of happening. I can hear that as an altered chord, but not so much that. Okay, you know, it was a nice try. A, we can see that A is going to work, and of course A is within the E Dorian scale as well. In fact, we've got a nice open A here, so we've got 9, 4, 5, and 1. Great. It's safe to say that that's kind of some A minor sort of 11 vibe, or I mean, if we look behind the notes, or even a kind of sus4. Great. Okay, B flat. Is B flat going to work? Well, I can pretty much categorically say that it isn't. I mean, you can see already that this is, you've got flat 9 here, and then you've got third, and then you've got sharp 11, and then major 7. No. Okay, so that doesn't work. B minor, we've already done B minor, because we had the F sharp as the 5, so we know that works. Again, we've got 1, flat third, 4, flat 7. Okay. C. Fabulous chord. I use this all of the time. So what have we got? We've got B, which is the major 7, D is the 9, then we've got E is the 3, and A is the 6. D flat. Is that going to work? No. Why doesn't that work? I mean, we've got flat 7, 9, and then minor third, and then flat 6. It's just horrible, isn't it? Absolutely horrible. Okay, it doesn't work. D. That's fine. That's exactly the same as that F sharp chord that we started off with earlier on, isn't it? So we've got 1, 6, 1, 2, and 4. That ambiguous, neither major nor minor kind of vibe. And the final note left is E flat. No, just, I don't even want to talk about it. So there we go. That is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about chord plurality. We've just found some really outstanding chords there. We've got these minors. E minor, B minor. There was a beautiful C major. Absolutely lovely. There was a G major too. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to put those straight in my bag and I'm going to use them until the end of time. I think they're absolutely great. There are some other chords that we need, some other new nice chords that we need with different chord qualities though. Why don't we have a look at this one that we found down here? Remember this one, this kind of minor 6/9 in relation to E. And why don't we just kind of do the same thing and go, well, what else could this be? Okay, it's going to be nothing to do with F. Let's have a look at F sharp. What's that? That's we've got flat 9, 4, 5, and 1. So that's like a F sharp sus flat 9. Beautiful exotic chord. G. We've got 1, 3, sharp 4, and 7. So that's a Lydian chord. Quite a nice one too. Okay, let's put an A underneath it. Great, so that's flat 7, 2, 3, and 6. That's a nice kind of A7 chord. It's great. B flat, is that going to work? Nah, absolutely not. B, kind of. Sounds more like E minor 6, 9 with a fifth in the bass to me. Arguably could be a minor with a flat 6. Okay, yeah, nice enough. C, that's just so not going to work. Vile. D flat. Okay, this is interesting. So we've got flat 5, flat 7, 1, and 4. You've probably heard that one before. Great. That's a minor 7 flat 5 voicing all day. with a 4 on the top. And remember, the 4 is quite commonly used as a melody note over minor 7 flat 5. So stick that one straight in your bag. Great. D, that's going to feel like that G Lydian chord with a 5th in the bass. E flat. Wow. It's a fabulous chord. So we've got 1, 3, sharp 5, flat 7 and sharp 9. That's a great voicing for a kind of altered chord. And that's it. We're back to E. Okay, so we found a couple of possibilities there. We found it worked well as a dominant chord, both as A and E flat, which are a tritone apart. Remember that? And it also worked well as a minor 7 flat 5. Great. Between these two voicings, you've now got major, minor, you've got minor 7 flat 5, you've got dominant with a natural 9, you've got dominant, altered. So you could potentially get around an awful lot of material just with those two voicings alone. Before we start applying these voicings to material, I think it's worth finding another couple, otherwise life's going to get a bit samey. So as a natural progression, I'm thinking minor 7 flat 5, D flat, minor 7 flat 5. Usually a 2 chord, isn't it? A 2 chord of minor. And we're literally just one note away from G flat 7 flat 9. So let's include that as well. Okay, so we've got flat 9, 3, 5, 1. 7 flat 9 chords are really happy to move in minor thirds. And that's still a G flat 7 flat 9, and in some form or another. So just have a look. So here's the root, here's the third, here's the 5th, here's the flat 7, and here's the sharp 9. So although the flat 9 isn't in it, there's still some characters from the auxiliary diminished scale, the half whole scale. Just for the sake of this right now, let's just change key to A, because that means we can put the A underneath and we can actually hear what the thing sounds like. So this was like our original voicing. So we've got flat 9, 3, 5, 1. Okay, go up a minor third, and we've got 3, 5, flat 7, sharp 9. Very similar to your old Jimi Hendrix chord. Move up another minor third. We've got 5, flat 7, flat 9, and sharp 11. Okay, let's move up another minor third, but we're probably running out of room, so let's move it down here. So now we've got flat 7, flat 9, 3, and 13 or 6. Okay, so those chords are really, really happy to move in minor thirds. Let's hear all those chords one after the other. All from the A7 flat 9 family. There's one more voicing I want to include before we start applying this stuff. And the reason for that is because I would like an option to not play a minor 11, because it can be a bit too ambiguous sometimes. So earlier on we were looking at this for an A minor. Okay, so let's just take off our second finger, and now we're playing A minor 9. 9, minor third, 5, 1. So now we've got 4 new voicings, shapes or fingerings. Let's keep A as the root note so we can hear what these things kind of sound like properly. this is the equivalent of the very first chord that we found. So it's 5, flat 7, 1 and 4. If we go a tone up, we've got that 1 with no third. We've got 6, 1, 2 and 5. We've got this one here, so this is 2, 4, 5 and 1. And then we've got 1, flat third, 4 and flat 7. Very usable. To finish off on the minor chords, there was that last voicing that I put in. That minor 9 thing. 2, minor third, 5, 1. You can actually play that voicing further up here as well. And you get 6, flat 7, 2 and 5. Let's have a look at the major options. So if we put the bottom of that voicing on major 7, we get major 7, 2, 3 and 6. If we put the bottom of the voicing on 3, we get 3, 5, 6 and 9. That last voicing that I put in for A minor, that same kind of fingering works if you take off your finger here. So you've got major 7, 1, 3 and 6. Let's have a look at the dominant options. We've got A13, so we've got flat 7, 2, 3 and 6, or 13. And then we had that altered version, so if we start that voicing on 3, we've got 3, sharp 5, flat 7 and sharp 9. Okay, then we've got minor 7, flat 5. So if we start that voicing on flat 5, we've got flat 5, flat 7, 1, with the 4 on top. Of course, we've got these 7 flat 9 voicings too. 13 flat 9, flat 7, flat 9, 3, 13, 7 flat 9, so flat 9, 3, 5, 1, 7 sharp 9, so we've got 3, 5, flat 7, sharp 9, then we've got flat 9, sharp 11, so we've got 5, flat 7, flat 9, sharp 11. I think we're ready. Okay, let's see how we can use these chords to make our 2-5-1s sound a bit more sophisticated. There are loads of permutations, so I'm not going to go through them all, but what I'm going to do instead is just stick to good voice leading, or just keeping the chords in a nice little cluster. That's a pretty good way to ensure that the whole thing sounds a bit more fluid rather than jumping all over the neck. We're going to be in the key of D, so we can utilise all of the chords that we've been working on. And I think we should introduce one more chord for this reason, that the voicings of D major are quite a long way apart. So I think we should put something right in the middle. So let's just use this drop 2 version of D. Okay, let's start with that first chord that we found, the thing that kicked all this off, and that's the E minor with the 5th in the bass. So that's your 2 chord. So your next chord is an A7. Let's go for an A7 flat 9, and let's, for the sake of good voice leading, let's head for the nearest inversion we can find, and it's just right here. So that's A7 flat 9, which leads us to D major 7, drop 2. Let's hear what that sounds like with the rhythm section. Next up, we'll use the same E minor chord, but instead of moving down to that A7 flat 9, let's move up to the next inversion, which is here. That A7 sharp 9 in fact. And then for the sake of good voice leading, here we go, that D major is just there. Absolutely brilliant. Let's move up to the next really strong inversion of that shape for E minor, and it's here with the root on the 1. Again, let's find the nearest possible inversion of the A7 flat 9 shape, and it actually gives us that flat 9 sharp 11. It's right here, right next to it. Yeah? And then the closest inversion of D major out of those 3 chords, and it's pretty close again. Next up, we've got that inversion of E minor that's a tone up. But like I said before, that's not really committing itself enough for me to being an E minor. So let's just take off the second finger so we can get the G in there as the minor third. And let's move again to the closest inversion of A7 flat 9. Now we've got 13 flat 9. And to the closest version of D again. So we're back there. Let's play that down here just in case that was a bit too big. Closest inversion of A7 flat 9, so it's 13 flat 9. And then the closest inversion of D. Let's just run through a few more possibilities. For that first example, we had E minor with a 5th in the bass. And instead of using A7 flat 9, we could have in fact used this inversion. So it's that chord again with the second finger taken off. Arguably, it could be considered a B flat minor 9 over A. For all those of you interested in the melodic minor scale, or we could just look at the actual intervals, which I would much rather do, to be honest. So we've got sharp 9 or minor third, sharp 5 and flat 9 over A, which would lead us rather nicely into D. It's almost the same voicing. Similarly, we could have used this inversion for an altered chord. Put that over A, which would now sound like this. So here's our first E minor, A altered, very, very close to the D major again. A lovely bit of voice leading. We also mentioned that the 1 chord could be Lydian, so let's hear how that sounds. Let's use the altered for A, and here's D Lydian. It's actually the same voicing, isn't it? lower down, E minor 9, A13 flat 9, D Lydian. Sometimes the 2 chord can be a minor 7 flat 5, like this. E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9 to D major. That kind of sounds familiar, right? Night and day? Here we are. While we're there, actually, sometimes the minor 7 flat 5 chord doesn't function as a 2 chord. It can be part of like a flat 5 rundown, which appears in Night and Day, funnily enough. So let's just have a look at that while we're here. On the flat 5 of D, we've got A flat. So here's A flat, minor 7 flat 5. Still using these same voicings. And then we've got the 4 chord, 4 minor though. So it's G minor. Let's use the same voicing as the minors that we've been looking at. And then the 3 chord is an F sharp minor, and then we've got a diminished on the minor third, which is the equivalent of minor third, flat 5, natural 6 and 1. So it just means any of these is going to work: D, F, A flat or B. But good voice leading is leading me to this kind of B, and then we're going 2, 5, 1. So the whole thing would sound like this. Perhaps the reason for that little diversion was just to illustrate that we can get these chords into our playing immediately. And once they're in there, they're not going to go anywhere, you know, they're not going to end up in some kind of chord notebook that ends up getting lost at the bottom of some dusty drawer somewhere. We're actually going to use this stuff. Of course, this stuff works just as well for minor. So let's have a look at that. We've got the 2 chord, minor 7 flat 5, E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9, D minor. 2 chord. Let's use this inversion for altered again. And then let's move to the nearest version of D minor. Chord, this version of altered. While we're here, it should be noted that this inversion of G minor 9 works quite well as an E minor 7 flat 5. So again, I won't go through all the permutations, but check this out. So if this inversion is the same as the A altered inversion, and it could also be the same inversion as D minor. There's a 2-5, minor 2-5. Interesting. I'm going to to dive deeper into the minor thing elsewhere, so let's stick with the major for now. So far we've just dealt with 2-5-1, but of course we can also involve the 6. So just to keep things simple, why don't we just say we're going to use the same voicings as we did for the A7 flat 9, but now it's going to be B7 flat 9. So it's going to be like this: 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. I'm going to play a bit of 2-5-1-6 in D major using only the voicings that we've been discussing today, and I'll show you how they all link up in a very logical and musical way, hopefully. I think it kind of goes without saying that you should transpose this to other keys too. And like I demonstrated earlier, the sooner you get this into your playing, the sooner this stuff can be a part of your vocabulary. On the face of it, this might seem like a lot of kind of stuff to be throwing at a soloist, but I really don't think it gets in the way. Quite the opposite. I think it makes for a much more rich bed of sound upon which that soloist can improvise. I'm going to play you out by improvising over that last demonstration. I'm not going to be paying too much mind to the chords because I know it's just 2-5-1-6. So as long as I'm sticking to that harmony when I'm soloing, then surely there's nothing that can go wrong. See you next time.